All right, let's jump forward. 2003, you win the $1 million 7-card stud tourney at Larry Flint's Poker Challenge Cup. How did you feel that day?
Wasn't a big deal.
No?
No, it wasn't even a big deal. I had made a lot of money
by that point.
I already had cash bankroll of a few $1 million, and I wasn't a big tournament player. Phil Ivey was starting to be a friend of mine at that time, and he was a big tournament player. He was going around winning tournaments. He was in it, and kind of had a big ego, playful ego about it. You know what I'm saying? We jab each other. So he was saying, well, he's going to win the thing, and Doyle Brunson played in it. So we had obviously good players. So it's just like you like to win. But other than that, wasn't that big a deal. Although it was kind of the early days of $1 million tournaments. They just now had some WPT tournaments, and they filmed this for television broadcast, but it went through the hands of about 3 different production companies, and it never saw the light of day. But this whole thing's been filmed for TV.
Was that the first tournament you gave away all your winnings to charity?
I am assuming that's before the Tunica one.
I think so.
Yeah. So I gave away. As I remember, I did give that away. I actually only won really about $600,000 because Larry quit when we were head up and took part of the money in front of him. He didn't want to play it out, even though he had told everyone we had to play it out. So I didn't get the whole win, and then of course the buy-in's $125,000. But the money I won, I gave away, and the major thing that I gave away was $440,000. I remember the number to the 440 coordinators, for Children Incorporated around the world. What they have is a lot of them get almost no money, maybe even are volunteers. Like we have nuns and orphanages that are our coordinators for our programs with Children Incorporated. And I use the word our, because I am really involved with Children Incorporated, even though I'm officially not. It's not my charity. It's like people say your charity. It's not my charity.
But it feels like your charity.
But Marion Cummins is the CEO, is a good friend of mine, and the people at the top know me very well. And I've been their biggest donor. So I'm very much involved, and I gave $1,000 basically to each one of the coordinators. Now a lot of them were selfless, especially the nuns. Not surprisingly, many of them took that money and actually found ways to do something positive with it to help out at the orphanage, and didn't keep it for themselves. But a lot of these people, which I was glad of, did keep the money, because these were people often living in poor areas, and getting an honorarium like this, even more than the $1,000, which is substantial, especially in some of these poorer countries, but being recognized, because these are very selfless people. These are, people, like, say, because the money might say, use the word hero or something like that for me, and I always kind of laugh at it because I don't think of myself in any way like this. But these people are the heroes.
Yeah.
And for them to actually get recognized, I mean, I got the most unbelievable letters back from these people. I still keep them in a box in my office, and it's just amazing how the good feeling that came out of this. And this was like probably my biggest accomplishment in my life, because it was just one of those striking moments where I could say I did the right thing. People say giving away the money, how's that all, what do you think of all that? Especially now where I don't have that much money, and some people think that maybe I have regrets that I gave away so much money.
Right.
I have absolutely no regrets at all, because I got to do the right thing. And as we go through life, so many of us are in the rat race, not able to do things that we want to do, not able to do I think one of the main things that a lot of us would like to live by is leave the world off a better place, that you were there. And this was the striking time of my life, the watershed moment that I could say, I did it. I accomplished something. So, yeah, if you ask me what I'm the proudest of, that's probably the proudest moment of my life.
Right. Makes sense. Now let's go back. When you were in your late 20s, you basically went from gambler to family man, married.
Uh-huh.
How was that transition?
That was different, because I was a loner. Even my girlfriend I lived with, we often took separate vacations. She'd go with my sister somewhere, I'd go, because sometimes I go on gambling junkets. I take her, sometimes I didn't. But I, like on the spur of the moment, would just fly around the world and go somewhere to play blackjack or play poker in Houston or do whatever. I was just always on my own. And I never planned on getting married. And I remember, I had such everyone was really envious of me in those days because I was a real good athlete. I was a scratch golfer. I was getting a PhD. And I had a carefree life where I played poker to make money. I just had the greatest life that anyone could imagine when I was in my 20s. And I never would want to get married and be tied down. And so sometimes people say, well, when are you going to get married? And I would say, my plan is 65. That's probably a good time to take a young wife and settle down.
But you did it anyway.
Well, what happened was something beyond my control. And it isn't just falling in love, although that, I guess, was part of it. But I met a woman who was a card player. I played bridge a lot in those days. I played bridge tournaments, not poker tournaments. And I met her at a bridge club. And it ended up she played poker for a living. And when I first met her, she was really beautiful, one of the most beautiful women I ever met. And I asked her, and I was one of these guys full of confidence, hit on all the girls, but in a fun way. And which you kind of know, probably like Joey is, which you get to see firsthand. So there's a lot of things. I was just a free spirit and just like to goof around. And I remember I asked her, hey, are you married? And she said, yeah, I'm very married. And I think I might even joke, well, that's good, because I said, it's good to get that out of the way, because I certainly wouldn't plan on marrying anyone. But I knew I liked her a lot, and she was married, and I heard she had 3 kids. At the time I met her, she had just had her 3rd child. And I stayed away from her. I actually stayed away from her for a couple of years, because I was attracted to her, and it's I hear these things, like even when I'm on TV, people say like he's not that good a looking guy and all these things, and whatever I am, I'm okay with who I am. I'm as I say, comfortable in my own skin. But I was a very confident person in those days.
That's what women like.
Yeah, and so because you're right, that is what women like. And I always felt that as long as I got to talk to any woman, she's going out with me. And I don't ever remember that not being the case, because I did like to go around and have fun and have travel. And if I took a woman out, I could show her a good time. And so, I was always pretty successful, in my college years. I didn't go out that much, but I like I said, I had the confidence, and because I at times had a steady girlfriend, so I didn't go out. And so in this situation too, I felt that if I talked to this woman, I could mess things up.
Right.
Because I did get the feeling or the vibe that she liked me also. So I stayed away from her, and then it got to a point where her mother died, and things happened where she was ready to get a divorce. And then we started talking more at that point, and as you know, that's Joey's mother.
Right.
And so probably 4 or 5 years after I actually initially met her, the reason I got married is Joey's fault.
It's all Joey's fault.
Yeah, it's all Joey's fault. Because what happened was, I had lived with my girlfriend in college for about 8 years, and I would have lived with Joey's mother, Donna, too, but I didn't think it was right for the kids. I thought, in this situation, I was going to have to make a decision. Do I want to be, with her and her children? I've always looked at that, and I'm glad I always looked at, if you go with someone who's got kids, it's the whole package. It's them and their kids. And so I very readily took on that role as surrogate parent with her 3 boys, and gave them a lot of time. In fact, Donna was probably jealous of the time I gave the kids. I spent the weekends taking them places. And I'm glad that I got to see it from that side, because now, since I've gotten divorced and I have my kids, my biological kids as well, obviously as my older stepkids, any woman I've gone with, I expect them to realize that it's the whole package. It's me and my kids, and it's always been very clear that my kids come first. And so I can say that knowing in my heart that that is the right way to present myself as who I am, because when I was on the other side of it, I accepted that.
Right.
And so when I got married, to me it was a